It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back and enjoy another fine episode from these Google fanboys as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here are your hosts. Hello, and welcome to episode 31 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Warren Carr here on this July the 10th, 2021. In our virtual studios today, some of my friends are not with us today, and so it's just me and Austin piloting this ship. We, however, have some great people joining us today. Austin, how are you?
I'm very good. I think what happened is some 2-3 days back, England won the quarterfinals, and so I think Ed has gone for some vacation to celebrate the win. So he's not there with us. He'll be back next week. So that is what is going on. So
That's
Warren, how
right.
was your 4th of July?
The 4th of July was wonderful, and we had a lot of fun. And I thought about posting some of the fireworks to our Telegram group, and maybe I might do that. Today, though, we have in our upcoming segments, of course, Austin is going to be bringing us an announcement. And then in our app category, that is the must-have apps, we will be talking about that. Yes, that wonderful topic, and that is printing. Following that will be the segment of the In Focus, and we will be having Shen Lo from SuperSense. In our app of the week, however, I will be demonstrating some app called Daily Babble. Concluding our segments of the week, we will be having our friend Doug Cameron, and that's my favorite segment, and that would be the My Android Journey story. So that's the lineup that we have for you guys. Austin, let's get that baby rolling. How about you tell us a little bit as to what's going on? That will be in our announcement segment.
So in this segment of the announcements, we have got one announcement from the show, but a lot of announcements from Google, OnePlus, and all those things. So first, to get the show announcements, the blindandroidusers.com website will be down for rebuild. We are doing a complete site redesigning and a rebuild, and we will be down for over a month maybe. The website may be live if the work gets over faster. We cannot give you a time frame for how much time it will take. But if you go to the website, you can still go to blindandroidusers.com and you will be redirected to the backup site, that is blindandroidusers.podsite.io. So there's no change for you. Just the site layout or design may change in the time that we are maintaining the main site. Warren, what do you think about the Google removing Play support for Jellybean devices?
The news about the Google retiring or sunsetting Jellybean as from the end of August this year, to me, it kind of brings back, bittersweet memories because it kind of brings a tear to my eye. Because when you look at it, Jellybean happened to be foundational in several ways because number one, it was the very first time that we were able to turn on the device, put on our two fingers down to enable accessibility. You remember that? And so when I still look back on things like Nexus 7 and Nexus 4, I mean, these were the cream of the crop back then. And to me, it's like losing an old trusted friend. And I got a tear in my eye just thinking about it. Austin, you have any fun memories about Jellybean?
Unfortunately, I never used a Jellybean device. I went straight from Android 2.3.6 to Android 4.4. I think that is how I went. So I never got a chance of using Jellybean. Yeah.
You ought to go get yourself a Jellybean powered device. No, I'm not kidding. No. Because my gosh, how would anyone not experience Jellybean? It was major. I mean, it was a major turnaround, and it was during Jellybean that we had a lot of things like I talked about the accessibility enablement using the two finger hold down, and it was during that time as well that we have the LE Bluetooth support, and that actually paved the way for uh, enabling things to work well with watches and things like that. So Jellybean, definitely we need to go buy some Jellybean. I think I have a bag that my wife purchased me of Jellybean. I should maybe find it and shake it, so our friends will hear what Jellybean sounds like. But in reality, I think I have a Jelly Bean device sitting somewhere here, and it would be nice to find that. But I have to bring out that Jelly Bean. Listen to this. That's Jelly Bean. I got a bunch of that stuff in the bag there, just because we are celebrating the departure of a friend and a hero. Goodbye, baby.
And now, what do you think of OnePlus throttling apps and getting good scores on Geekbench?
I
There was an
think once
uproar on our Telegram group, and
there was an uproar, for sure, because when I posted that on there early this week, or middle of the week, somewhere there, was it Tuesday or Monday, my buddies like Gary kind of went up in arms because of that. And well, the whole idea is not that we're really downplaying what is it, we're downplaying OnePlus. Rather, we're just pointing out what is going on, because in reality, it's not good to throttle apps. And the only app that it didn't throttle happened to be the Vivaldi browser. And I'm kind of beginning to wonder, why didn't they throttle Vivaldi browser? But about 300 apps, that's no bueno, man, including system apps for that matter. And I'm kind of wondering if TalkBack didn't even fall victim to this thing that OnePlus did. You know what I mean?
yeah, and we are not only like blaming OnePlus for this. Tomorrow, if we get news that Google is doing such a thing, definitely we'll post about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, if Google were doing that, we would be, up in arms about it as well. So it's not that anyone is putting down OnePlus or anything of that sort, but the whole idea is that it's not good, and all in attempt to get a better benchmarking thing. That's no bueno, man. That takes me back to Huawei, when Huawei was using regular DSLR cameras and posting pictures, claiming that these were taken with its cameras on this phone. That's no bueno. Something odd going on.
And our listeners will be wondering why we are only discussing of OnePlus on a podcast. Because what is the thing is, our lists and our Telegram group, the majority of people have OnePlus device. Second is Samsung, then Pixel, and then some have LG and the others. So OnePlus is the majority. So anything happens to OnePlus, we can discuss about it.
Now, OnePlus is big, and I'm actually still planning on getting a OnePlus device. But now, when I read about the next coming OnePlus Nord 2 5G, I'm kind of holding back, because I was going to get either the OnePlus N10G 5G over the N200. And now I'm like, gosh, I'm going to wait to see this OnePlus Nord 2 5G that's going to be coming with that MediaTek Dimensity 1200, which is going to be putting it up there. But of course, it's a MediaTek chip. So looking at that and all of that, OnePlus is not a bad device. It's just that we don't like that practice. It's not good. And that's all that we're trying to point out here.
The date of the launch of OnePlus Nord 2 is confirmed to 22nd July. And Dimensity is not at all a bad CPU. It is a top of the line chip. It is equal to Snapdragon 870. So it's not a bad chip.
It's not a bad chip, and it's a good one. If one is going to be getting a OnePlus, and I hope that maybe it's priced accordingly, because if they kind of take the price and kill it, then it's not going to sell too well. The one thing, though, I don't think that thing is going to be coming to the United States. It will probably only be like in places like Europe and India, where the Nord was very popular. They kind of threw the low ones out here in the US for some reason, and I'm not sure as to why that is. So that's OnePlus there for us.
I hope they launch it at a good price, and I hope they give us many 5G bands, because the previous OnePlus 9, which is very expensive, came with only one 5G band. So that is not good.
Not good. So, but we'll see what happens with this particular OnePlus Nord 2. I think it's probably going to be a good device. And if it doesn't wind up being a good device, then we'll all hear about it. But looking forward to what it's going to be bringing to the table. You know how it is that OnePlus likes to tease and tease and tease, put a little, a tidbit about it, like a daily thing until that final day when they finally unveil it. So looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table.
So last but not the least, what do you think about the OnePlus increasing updates? And also we have news about OnePlus merging ColorOS, but not the UI is not going to change so fast. It is going to be at the back end. So they're going to merge their back end code, and OnePlus and the Oppo teams are going to merge and give faster updates. So what do you think of all that?
I know that probably some of the OnePlus fans are not kind of happy with the merger, but then, you look at the other side of the coin and then you realize that there's some goodness that comes as a result of this because instead of a 2-year update OS updates, you're getting 3 years of updates, OS updates, and then you're getting 4 of security patches. So I think it's a win-win situation, whichever way you look at it, because that gives OnePlus a better life and all of that. And who would not want to take OS updates? I would take OS updates over anything else, if you leave it up to me, because for me, I think those OS updates are very important. And most especially with the security patches, extending it beyond 3 years to 4 years, that's a good thing. And whether you like the Color OS or not, that's besides the point. We haven't seen it. Have you ever played with a Color OS before, Austin?
I have played with it for maybe a minute or two, maybe maximum 5 minutes, and it is really inaccessible. Like everything in ColorOS is the reverse of Android. Like if you want to pull down the notifications in ColorOS, you have to swipe 2 fingers from down to top. So everything is reverse, and it's very, I don't know. I didn't like the OS.
Now, what I'm thinking though, was that maybe a little while ago or was that recently? I'm basically what I'm saying is that it's probable that things have changed over the years or whatever since when you last saw it, unless, of course, if you just looked at it recently.
No,
How
I
long
looked at
ago
it in
was that?
2019. 2019.
Oh, in 2019? Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not good. Well, I haven't seen any colored OS powered device, so I can't say anything about that. But whichever one it is, I think though that those people are aware of accessibility, and I'm not sure that they're just going to throw people under the bus when it comes to accessibility.
They're not going to throw anyone under the bus, but for the listeners of the podcast using OnePlus devices, be aware that the UI is not going to change. This is only going to be some back-end code merging. I don't know how it will be. I hope it is good. Because Oxygen OS and the alert slider are the two things that are heart of OnePlus. If OnePlus removes any of the two, the majority of the heart of OnePlus is Oxygen OS. So if OnePlus removes Oxygen OS, then I don't think people are going to buy the phone much.
I agree. And most especially, I think those are the two things that drive, OnePlus, and the fact that they use top-notch, hardware and, all of that is a big thing for OnePlus. Yeah, of course, they used to be the flagship killer, no more because their prices are up there with everybody as well. So good luck to OnePlus and looking forward to what they're going to be cooking. And hopefully, we see some better things coming out of OnePlus and not getting things throttled.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to move on to our app category, and that will be printing. So some years ago, when we started all that digital stuff, everyone thought that, hey, we're not going to be printing a lot anymore and things like that. We're going to be saving the trees and all that good stuff. However, printing is still with us to this day. Austin, do you do a lot of printing?
I don't do printing at home, but I do printing in the office. If I want something to be printed, I go to some cyber cafe and get it printed. But nothing much so that I can get a printer at home and worry about all the maintenance, maintaining the toner and this, that, and other. So nothing much of printing my side.
Yeah, so for me, I do have a printer at home. I have an Epson EcoTank 4550. And having kids at home and things like that, there's certain things that you print. And then on top of that, my wife happens to be an artist. And there are certain things that she prints out when she's trying to draw something and then wants to see how it looks and all that, scans it, prints it, whatever. And so we still use the printer a lot in my household. And there are times, though, that I myself would print something like a shipping label. I'm returning something, and Amazon or whoever sends me a shipping return, and I just need to print it out and stick it on the box and throw it wherever, have them come pick it up. All of those things keeps the printer running at my house. So but the printer is still part and parcel of us. And so to simplify that process, we have printing services. We used to have the cloud print from Google. Google has stopped that cloud print. And then the different manufacturers, each one will have their own printer and all of that. But then the Mopria, that's Mopria Printing Alliance, brought all of these printer manufacturers together. And as I speak, I think there are over 1 million devices that are supported by the Mopria print. And so that's something that if you haven't had, one should install it and see if their printer is supported. But I'm optimistic just about every printer out there is supported. And so I'll be showing the Mopria print, which is very simple to use. And I want to show you how it works. So I'm going to open up my apps and bring up Mopria print. Open Mopria print.
Mopria print, main, Mopria print service, getting started.
When you open up the app, this is where it places you. It places you in the tutorial and all of that.
Use this app to learn how to print from your other apps. Find nearby printers and get help with the Mopria print service in Pager. Use this app to learn how to print from developed by the Mopria Alliance.
Okay.
Tab selected 1 of 5 in list 5 items.
So we've got 5 tabs of the tutorial. So you can just swipe from right to left to move through those tabs.
Page 2 of 5. Tap on the share icon, then tap on in Pager.
So the whole idea is you tap on something you want to print, long press on it, and then choose the share, and then you choose the Mopria print from the items that show up in the share.
Select a printer. Page 3 of 5. Tip: if you only see Save as PDF, then tap to expand to see any available printers.
So on this page, what they're talking about is that you need to choose a printer that you would like to use to print, and that would be whatever printer that you have that is supported by Mopria.
Tap the printer icon. Page 4 of 5. Tip: you can also change your print options by tapping on the middle arrow.
In other words, if you want to change whether you want to use different kind of paper and all of that, you could do that.
Terms and conditions. Page 5 of 5.
And this is where we accept all those agreements and all of that, or else there's no printing service. So let's look at the agreements here. And
checkbox, not checked. Terms and conditions.
So I need to accept that.
Checkbox, not checked. Checked. I have reviewed and accept the following agreements and settings. Checkbox, checked.
Okay.
License agreement. Checkbox, checked. Privacy policy. Checkbox, checked.
You can uncheck this if you don't want that.
Collection of anonymous Mopria data, optional. I do not agree, button. I agree, button. I agree.
So in other words, these checkboxes are for the different licensing agreements and all of that. The last one is the optional one. That is the collection of how your printer performs, or whatever, and you can say, hey, I don't want to agree to that.
I do not agree, button.
Then you need to uncheck it, and here's where you uncheck.
Collection of anonymous Mopria data, checkbox, checked.
So you uncheck this. I'm going to uncheck that to show you that it doesn't affect the functionality.
Not checked.
So I've unchecked that. And now
I agree.
I go to
Button.
agree, basically agreeing to the other things that I checked above. And that would be things like the privacy. They're going to take care of my privacy and all of that.
Mapria print service. Print service. Out of pager.
Now that I tapped on agree, I am now on this page.
Printers. Tab. Selected. 1 of 2. In list.
We
2
got
items.
2 tabs here at the top. So we got the printers tab. To the right of that is the how to tab.
How to. Tab. 2 of printers. Tab. Selected. 1 of 2.
So in the printers, it's going to automatically search your network and find your printer. And let's see if it finds mine.
Epson ET 4550 series 192.168.8.
So it sees my Epson there, and that's my printer. And so I have nothing else to do. Now, if it's not seeing your printer, however, at the bottom right corner is a manual configuration where you could tap on the add and manually add your printer. And that means that you have to know all the ports and all of that your printer runs through on your Wi-Fi and all of that. And that's this button here at the bottom.
Add button. Button. Out of list.
When you tap
Message.
here
Telegram.
on add,
Add Wi-Fi printer. Preferred name. Edit box.
so you give it a name.
IP address or host name. Edit box. Cancel. Button. Cancel.
And I cancel
Mapria.
because it already sees mine. But that's how you go about using the Mapria print. It's as simple as you can think of, and it's most of the time automatic. Unless something else funny is going on, then you'll have to manually add your printer. Or other than that, your printer is automatically added. And so if you haven't been using Mapria print, and instead using something from your manufacturer or whatever, it's time to probably use something simplistic, and that is the Mapria print. And now that we are done with setting up the device, how about now we do a little quick test on how to go about printing. I will now invoke my File Explorer and go find a little message that I sent a little while ago and use it for this testing purpose.
Folder. Google. For more folder. File browsers. Skit. Solid Explorer.
I'm going to go down to my documents.
DCIM. Documents. 3 items.
There was a message that I sent out to my friends on WhatsApp when I was exiting the group, so I will print that particular message.
Exiting WhatsApp TXT 846B, July 8th, 2021, 3 hours, 48 minutes, and 4 seconds PM, row 3.
So I could either long press on this and it will ask me as to what I want to use in opening this. I could choose a Mapria print, or I could simply long press on it and choose the share. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, you will wind up at the same place. So I'm going to tap on the document.
Open the file using Action Open As button, out of grid.
So we're told as to how we want to open this file. I will scroll up, or scroll down rather, and I'm going to find where it says Mapria print.
Add to list. Our book reader. Brave. Chrome Classic Aircode Edit Cool Recopy to Docs.
Let's scroll down some more.
Edge Canary FB File Full Reader.
Let's go down to the
Showing
M's.
Kiwi Browser Moonplug Mapria print.
Mapria print. Tap here.
Allow Mapria print service to access photos and media on your device. Allow button, out of list.
And here I'm going to tap on allow.
Mapria print dialog. This printer isn't available right now. 1.
Sometimes that would happen because it needs a little bit of time to communicate with it. Now I'll put my finger down to see if it's still unavailable.
Drop down list. Epson ET 4550 series 192.168.
So there is my printer. And then to the right of that, just below that is the print button. I'll find that button and tap on it.
Print button.
Tap.
Printing exiting WhatsApp TXT. Epson ET 4550 series. Solid Explorer.
All right. There goes my printer. Austin, any comments about Mopria print?
That is the most simplest app I've ever seen, because at least in our office we used to use the Canon app and the HP app, and we had to select a model and this, that, and all the other information. But this is very simple, so it's good to learn that there is some app, and I can recommend this to our office people.
It is very simplistic, and that's one of the reasons why I like it, because, like I said, over 1 million devices are supported, and the tendency is that just about every printer out there is supported. And that's Mopria Print. We'll be putting the player URL in our show notes. We now move on to our In Focus segment, and this time I am glad we have some wonderful person that we've been talking with for quite a while now, and that will be Mr. Shen Lo from SuperSense. Shen, come on, man, come in here and tell us about SuperSense, what's going on, and all of that good stuff. You guys got a lot of things going on, and I am excited that you are with us here today and talking about SuperSense and all that's been developed ever since we had you the last time. Well, Shen, welcome back to Blind Android.
It's so good to be here, man. It's so good to. This is, I really remember this show. Like the first time that I was here, like it was just so much fun. The energy was so welcoming and open, and it was just so much fun just to sit down and have this conversation. The last time, so I'm really excited for this conversation. Round number 2. This is gonna be great.
Great. So now, since the last time we had you, we talked about some things that were coming into SuperSense and all of that. And then you were talking about the sales that you guys were going to be having. And I think that thing was supposed to come like during the Easter. Somehow something happened. I guess the crucifixion or something kind of bumped it out of the way, and we didn't have that sales.
So
and then you guys...
When we spoke last, we didn't have a date for the sale, so we were just talking about, all the holidays, Easter. It could be Easter, it could be Valentine's Day, for all we know. I mean, the sale could be any day. It could be that, it could be, a quick 2-day event, or it could be a month and a half long event like we have going now. So it turns out that our marketing people decided that a summer sale from mid-June to the end of July would be the best option. So that's what we're going to do, man.
That's
what's going to happen.
That makes sense. And so we now have that sales going on, which is like a 40% off. Here in the US, that sets it to back down to $60 for those of you that haven't had a subscription to it. This is probably the best time to get it. Unless, of course, Shen puts in a little bit of some Haitian magic or something crazy like that and tweak it a little bit. And knock that baby down by $10 or whatever. But frankly, at $60, which is down from its original price of $100, and we're talking about lifetime subscription here. It's not like an annual thing here. So, Shen, tell us what's going on with SuperSense and all of that sales, and when it ends and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that sale started on the 15th of June, and it's going to keep rolling through the 31st of July. So you've got until July 31st. At the time of recording, about 3 more weeks to be able to take advantage of it. And I'm already talking to our product team about the new stuff that we're going to be adding in SuperSense coming in the fall and the winter. So now is actually a really good time to buy it, because you're getting, all of the stuff that SuperSense has currently, but we're recommitting now to adding more stuff that we've been talking about doing for a long time. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun, I think, to put in stuff, because to me, like, the thing is, stuff changes a lot more than I would like it to, The last time I think I was here, the plan was to develop the column reader. I think that was our next thing. I was actually, the whole company, we were pretty sure that our column, we spoke in February, right? Was that when I was last here?
I think it was.
The whole team was pretty sure that column reader would be released in March or April. And then, we went into the testing phase, and we realized this isn't good enough yet, because if we want to release a feature to the public in SuperSense, we want it to be top notch, the highest quality that we could possibly get for you. So when we realized it wasn't enough in testing, by then it had been about 2 months since we put out a feature, and that's rare for us. We like to drop features pretty often. So we wanted to, while we were working on the column reader and improving it, we wanted to put something out that was a little more simple. So around that point, I don't know if I spoke about it last time, but we've got the magnifier in there. That's a new free feature for SuperSense. You can magnify anything that you would like. Also, when we started working on column reader, when it went back into development phase, we developed the scene describer as well to give people a new feature. And what I love about scene describer is that it lets you save pictures and describe those pictures to you. So you can take a picture of a space and the AI will describe that picture to you. And then you can save it and you know what's in the picture. So you can post it to social media. You can put it on, Twitter, your Instagram, whatever. You can send it to your mom. You can send it to your friends. I think of it as a way for us to, as blind people, to be able to take pictures, which I think is really neat. And so in terms of new features, that's really what we've been doing with SuperSense. A lot of our development has been focused on a new app, opening ourselves up kind of more to the mainstream community, called ReadBit. The new app that we just put out a couple of days ago to the public. And ReadBit is cool because, our first two apps, SuperSense, SuperLiDAR, totally blindness focused. And that's great. Like, we've been having a ton of fun on that. And we're not going to stop doing that. We're not even going to slow down doing that. But we also wanted to drop a new app called ReadBit, which is short for Read Rabbit, by the way, which I really like the name of Read Rabbit. That's for sighted people as well. So blind people can use it, of course, but it's geared towards sighted people because it's focused on text to speech. So as blind people, we're really familiar with that. Everything that we read, if we don't have enough vision, is text converted to speech. But a lot of sighted people actually don't even think of that as an option sometimes. They just forget that happens. So you come across these cases as a sighted person where you want to read a lot of stuff, or you need to read a lot of stuff, but you don't want to. It's a strain on the eyes, or it's been a long day already, or whatever. So you can scan the text, and it will read it to you in TTS. The other cool benefits of that are that you can save that audio. You can save that TTS into a file, so you can save it as MP3 or whatever you want, and then put it on the cloud or export it however you'd like. And then what's really unique about it as well is the summarizer. So if you don't want to read the whole thing, ReadBit will just summarize what you're reading for you, so that it you can get the key points without reading all sometimes 100 pages.
So Shane, you talked about the column reader and all of that, and on our site, that's our mailing list, our subscribers have been talking about comparing, the SuperSense with Envision and other OCR packages. Of course, our last week's episode was all about that. No, not our last week. Last 2 weeks, that's our episode number 29, was all about that OCR package. And we made a comparison of those things. And some of the criteria that we looked at, most especially that we thought are important, have to do with the fact that can X do offline recognition. And SuperSense happens to be one of those that does offline recognition, right?
In certain features, yes. So the document reader, which is the most accurate, you do need a connection for. And the reason for that is because when we went in to develop the AI that's going to be able to scan this text, it is super processor heavy. So it's so CPU intensive that if we were to actually load that onto your phone, the app would A, take up a lot of space, and B, run really slowly. So to get that really accurate scan, it does have to send it up to the cloud. But we don't store any of that also. So people who are thinking about privacy and security, we don't store anything that you scan. So don't worry about that. But yeah, unfortunately, the document reader will require connection. But if you want to just use quick read, it's not doing any processing whatsoever. It's just spitting out whatever it sees back at you. So there's no connection, no hotspot, no Wi-Fi required there.
And that's what I discovered. And because I was running it on Android 12, Shane, probably something to look at. It kept crashing on my Android 12, and I don't remember. I think I had to resort to Android 11 to give it a fair shake because it would be unfair to compare it, when it's not working right on Android 12 beta 2 at the time. And so on our mailing list, people have been talking about that and all of that. And so I'm glad that we're clarifying this, that this would require internet connectivity if you're going to do document scanning. And probably that's why it was crashing on my Android 12, because we were trying to see which ones actually do offline recognition. And so we crowned the
Hopefully that
lookout.
wouldn't make it crash. If you don't have a connection, it shouldn't crash. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure. From my perspective, I'd like to say, well, you're using a beta of Android, so it's still in beta, so that might be why it's crashing. But honestly, it very well could be something on our end. So I'll absolutely make a note, and I'll send that over to the developers to take a look, and we'll see if there's anything on beta 2 for Android 12 that could be causing you issues, because we want to make sure that everything is working well for our Android people.
Yeah, I think it was coming from the Android beta 2 that it was having some problem with. And like I said, though, I had to switch back to Android 11, phone on Android 11 to give it a fair shake. And so we talked about that. And so we wound up crowning Lookout as the king because it does everything offline and based on the criteria that we were using. But then, of course, there are certain things that SuperSense had going for it or has going for it that puts it elsewhere, rather than at the bottom. And so we kind of talked about that, and people, it could be very subjective. What I consider important to me may be not important to someone. But I think that another thing that SuperSense has going for it, and I don't remember, I should have tried, I didn't have one handy. We didn't try the handwritten material. I thought it did. Now, correct me whether it does or it doesn't, but I'd always had the impression that it does handwritten recognition. Does it do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. The quality will vary, based on the quality of the handwriting, but, it definitely reads handwritten material better than anything else that I've tried, at least. I haven't tried Lookout, unfortunately. I would really like to try Lookout, but I haven't tried it yet. But out of everything that I've tried, SuperSense kills at handwriting. It's really, really good.
Yeah, you've got to try Lookout. In that way, you can see what the competition has. And so, like I said, there are only two that I know on Android. Well, there are some other ones, but I'm talking about the big ones that do handwritten recognition. That would be SuperSense and you guys' rival Envision. So these are the two then that I know for a fact that do that handwritten recognition. And so it's good to have that. And my argument has always been the fact that, hey, just imagine that you're a student and sitting somewhere in a classroom, the teacher lets you capture that chalkboard or whatever. I think it comes in very handy. So it's something that is overlooked, but in reality, it's a very important feature.
Absolutely.
To me. Yeah.
And the other thing I should mention is we don't have handwriting listed as a feature. It does it automatically. So if you scan any handwriting with the document reader, it'll automatically recognize that it's handwriting and process it accordingly. So you don't have to select anything specific. It's automatically looking for handwriting for you, just to save you that time.
That's right. And that's true with the other ones too. So we have this too, and I'm excited that we have it working that way and for people to be able to use. Now, going back to the Read Rabbit or Readbit, this is something that you guys only have on the Fruitvale zone, the iOS. Shane, are you going to tell those boys to bring it to Android at some point? Because I think since it's for the sighted people as well, it makes sense that you guys extend that to Android as well.
The majority of smartphone users in the world are Android users, so it only makes sense to put it on Android. I'm definitely going to be talking to those guys about putting it on Android because it's the logical thing to do.
Another plus, though, that we had for the SuperSense is the fact that certain things, even if you are not a paying member, for example, you still have access to things like the quick read and other functions, as to the other competition where after 7 days you're totally locked out. You can't even sniff the next pot of coffee that's next to you. So I think that's a huge plus for you guys, because if someone doesn't have the money to subscribe to whatever subscription model, they can still do some of the mundane things except for the document reader. And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't SuperSense also let one import PDF even if they are not a paying member?
Yeah, so if you're using the free version of SuperSense, we didn't leave you out in the cold. You can use the quick reader. You can import photos and PDFs. You can use the magnifier, and then of course you have access to your read history as well. So it stores everything that you scan locally on your device. We don't have access to it; only you do. In case the app might crash, like on Android 12 Beta 2, or your phone dies or something like that. You can check it out. Anything that you've scanned, you can still save it and share it. It'll still be in your read history. So all that stuff is available even in the free version. If you want like the barcode reader, the document reader, currency, the entire Explorer screen, like the scene describer that I was talking about earlier and all that stuff, that is what we ask people to pay for. And that's helpful to us because we need people to pay to help us keep up the servers and the costs that we take on to make sure that SuperSense is working well.
Great. So I think it's a nice split, for someone that's, doesn't have money or whatever, can't afford it at the time. Then, they can still use that, and it comes in handy. And most especially if all that one is missing is just like the barcode reader, currency, and the document reader. But the general use is there for the main things. You want to do something really quick. You got that mail and you want to look at who's sending you that mail, or if that mail is yours. If you live with someone else, you want to make sure you're not opening someone else's mail. You want to check that. And even in my household, I do that, picking out those that belong to me so that I'm not tearing my wife's mail open, even though she wouldn't mind that. But
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's sometimes it's a surprise too. Like if you want to surprise your partner, you can't go through all the mail, because then you'll open up the surprise and they'll get mad, and you'll get in trouble doing that, opening mail that you're not expected. You got to be careful.
Yeah, things like that, it comes in handy, especially for me as a blind person. I always scan those packages to make sure that I'm opening that which belongs to me and not someone else, So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
And a lot of times we've seen mail that is supposed to go to our neighbors or whatever. We've seen that 5 or so different times, winding up in our mail. So definitely, this is a lifesaver for any blind person sorting out their mail. And so now the Readbit, is that a paid app, or what is it?
So Readbit has some. The majority of things that you would have to pay for Readbit are the premium voices, actually. Most of the features you get for free, depending on what voice you want. As I mentioned, Readbit's more geared toward the sighted audience. So a lot of the features that it has aren't super logical for blind users. A lot of blind users won't need the TTS translation. But the benefit there is, if you do want that ability to save it as audio or summarize, which might be coming to SuperSense. I mean, you never know. We might be putting those in SuperSense later on so that you can have all of that rolled into one. So really, Readbit right now is Readbit just kind of stepped onto the field. It could go in any direction. We could do anything with it. So it's just really cool. Like, it's really exciting to see, okay, app number 3, we've got a team now, we are experienced. We have a lot of knowledge about development, about marketing, about growth. There's so much now that we know how to do. So it's just cool for us to have app number 3 in the ring. And, now we're just going to see how people take it and what people think about it. And from there, move forward based on feedback, like we always do. We take what people want, and that's what we do.
I have some feedback regarding SuperSense
and
scene description, especially. So you said for the scene description, it will take the image first and then describe it. What I thought could be done is just how we use Google camera on a Pixel device, and it says one face at the center of the screen with so and so, and then we take the photo. What if it describes the thing first and then we take the photo of that?
Yeah,
So it
you
looks like a
absolutely
camera app.
you could do it. We could do it that way. The reason that we don't do it that way is because then it would always be processing. So, for example, the camera, the Google camera is primarily looking for faces, if I understand it right. So it's easy to track faces, but the scene describer is actually looking at the whole room. So it's looking for, it's identifying furniture, it's identifying people and animals and the lighting conditions of the room and what the room looks like, any like patterns or designs. So it will, if it's doing that constantly, it'll drain your battery, and it'll just make your phone really hot. And it'll also be a lot of feedback. Like you'll be hearing a lot of feedback constantly as it's scanning. So that's why that's why you click the button to take the picture, and from there it'll describe it to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And also you said in the beginning that there'll be some new features coming in the fall or winter. Could you give a little hint of what is coming out for SuperSense at least?
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna revisit the column reader in the fall for sure. We're also looking at a lot of translations. We're really excited to bring SuperSense to more people speaking more languages. You know, we want to bring it out to a lot more of the European languages, for example. So we're working on lots of localizations. Column reader in terms of features, but otherwise, I mean, it's an open book. We have some features in mind that we're kind of pushing around, but we haven't really decided officially yet. So if you have feedback for features that you want, now's the time to throw them in.
Well, thank you so much, Shen. This has been wonderful. And again, like I said, we are so thankful that you were able to drop in by and chat with us today about
Absolutely.
SuperSense, and that's the one that we're interested in.
Yes.
And hopefully, too, that you're there, you'll get those guys to bring Readbit to Android.
Absolutely. Can I tell you about one more thing before I go?
Oh, absolutely.
Can I give you one more piece of news? SuperSense is sponsoring a concert next week on July 15th. That's a Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We have a free virtual concert happening with some blind performers that are really, really good. Some performers from the Berklee College of Music in Massachusetts, and then also the headliner, Mr. Andy Timmons, who's a legendary guitar player. And we're going to have a seriously good time. So you can go to our website, supersense.app, to check all that stuff out, because I'm really excited. I'm putting on the show, and I've always wanted to organize a concert like this. So we've got Andy Timmons, we've got Question, the rapper and producer, we've got Precious Perez, my fiance, singer-songwriter. We have just an incredible lineup. So check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Great. Wonderful news. And so for people to be able to get to that concert, they need to log on to supersense.app.
Yep.
Is that something
you don't need
that
an account? You don't need to pay. You don't need an account. You don't need anything. You can just, on July 15th, you'll be able to click the link and just watch it right there. No setup required, nothing.
And what time was it again, Shen?
It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern on July 15th.
So that's 4 p.m. Pacific,
yes.
6 p.m. for those of you in the Central Time Zone. And,
5 Mountain.
Yeah. And if
midnight
you're in the
GMT.
UK, yeah, there you go. You're maybe midnight. And if you're in India, we're talking about 4:30 in the morning on the 16th. So, Austin, you want to make sure you're up there for that concert, or I'll be fighting with you.
Yeah.
It'll be a long show. So the show is long. So we want people in other time zones to be able to tune in. It'll be at least, it'll be several hours long. Each opener will be playing for about 15 minutes, and then Andy's got, a 90-minute set. So we'll be there for a long time. So if you're in India, you can wake up and have your breakfast with us. It'll be great.
Thank you so much. And one last thing about that concert, Shen. Would that be archived, just in case someone was not able to join during
it'll be on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to watch it from from our website, or you'll be able to search it on YouTube. It'll be called Super Sense Presents Live. It'll have featuring Andy Timmons, Precious Perez, Question, etc. All of these incredible artists that we're going to be playing. So really, really excited. It's going to be streaming in high quality audio, high quality video. Everything is going to be totally live. No recording in advance or pre-recording and things like that. It's going to be completely live. You can send in your feedback through our social media, SuperSense AI, and talk and make requests, and it's just going to be a great time. I'm seriously really excited for it.
Oh, great. So in other words, though, people could go to that SuperSense.app or could actually even go to the YouTube and log on to you guys' YouTube channel and also be able to watch it from there, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
Good. Well, thank you so much again, Shane. Let's go ahead and do this again one of these days. And this time, you're not going to be alone, but you're going to bring that squeeze of yours along, shall we?
Yeah, remind me. I'll bring her in. You'll see her on the concert next week. She'll be on the concert if you want to see Precious, my fiance.
She's got to come with you one of these days when we have you back on here.
Yeah, it'll be really fun actually to do that, because she worked for this company before I did. That's how I got this job. She left. She had to leave, and then connected me with the company. So that would actually be really cool to do like a retrospective version to talk about how the company used to be and how it is now, to bring Precious on. So whenever you'd like us to come back, let me know.
Most especially if that column reader or whatever comes back to SuperSense, or you guys work out all the kinks and all of that sometime in the fall or toward the end of the year, you just shoot me a little note, man, and I'll have you guys back on here with the pretty one. How about we?
That would be great. Let's do it. Thank you so much for all your kindness, all your support.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
You guys are incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, bro. Thank you so much. That has been a wonderful segment, hasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very nice interview. And if anyone wants to recap what happened previously, Shane had come to our podcast on episode 9. So we will have the we'll have the link for that interview from our YouTube channel in the show notes, so that if people want, they can go and listen to the previous interview so that they can see how the app is gone from the previous chat to this chat.
Great. Thank you for that, Austin. We now move on to an app of the week. In the app of the week, I'll be talking about an app called Daily Babel, Babel. I will now summon Daily Babel. Open Daily Babel.
Daily Babel. Daily Babel. View menu button.
When you launch the app, the first thing that happens is that you're landed on the top left corner where it says View Menu. To the right of that, that's to the right edge, we have More Options. Now, below there, we have the categories, and the categories include things like Word of the Day, Today in History. Let's go through those.
Word of the day, crabber, one who catches crabs. 2 of 16, enlist 16 items.
Below that,
Today in history, Isaac Newton receives his M.A. from Trinity College, Cambridge, July 7, 1668, 3 of 16.
Below that,
Random fact, when Alexander Bell invented the telephone, he had 3 missed calls from Chuck Norris, 4 of 16.
I'm going to scroll up a little bit, or scroll down a little bit, see the last.
Showing items 3 to 6.
The last categories.
Quote of the day, no one ever went broke underestimating the taste of the American public. Mencken, Hill, 5 of 16.
Let's scroll down one more.
Famous birthday, Joseph Marie Jacquard, invented the programmable loom, July 7th, 1752, 6 of 16.
One more, I think.
Showing item. National holiday, National Strawberry Sundae Day, July 7th, 2021, 7 of 16.
And that is the last category. Now, if you keep scrolling, then you'll get these facts or this history or this word of the day for the other days. So in other words, if you keep scrolling, you'll get word of the day for July 5th or July 4th, July 3rd, and on with their corresponding quote of the day or today in history, all of that. Now let's go back up to the top now and tell you a little bit more about the app and describe some of the layouts. Now, below each of those categories are 4 buttons, and these buttons include the following. The first one on the left edge corner says
Favorite Babel switch not checked.
And then to the right of that,
Open sharing button.
Open sharing to the right.
Open image editor button.
Open image editor, and one final one.
Search Babel on web button.
Search Babel on web. Now, you would think that checking the favorite or make favorite would add this to your favorites, but it doesn't, and I wonder what's going on. Now, besides those buttons, now to the right of each of the category is something that says Babel settings. So for instance, if I touch where it talks about word of the day.
Word of the day, crabber, one who catches crabs.
If I move my finger to the right edge of the phone right there, I'm going to find something that says Daily Babel setting.
Babel settings button.
Oh, Babel setting. Tapping here.
Pop-up window, read aloud in list.
We have 2 items. The first is read aloud and the second is copy text.
Copy text.
Now, if I tap on read aloud.
Read aloud. Crabber, Daily Babel. Babel set.
So see, it cuts it off. For some reason, it starts to read and then the screen reader comes in. I think what the developer needs to do is to make it possible to have a different TTS engine read that read aloud. And I haven't figured out how to make that work. Now, let's go back to the top left now and find our view menu. In other words, when you go back to the top left corner and tap on that view menu, you could switch to each of those categories from there. So for instance, let's go back up here.
View menu, menu.
And in there you have those categories.
Word of the day.
Word of the day.
Famous birthday.
Famous birthdays.
Today in history. Quote of the day. Random facts. National holidays. Favorites.
And favorites. If I tap on favorites, we're not going to find anything in there because we haven't added anything to the favorites. And I'm going to show you how you add something to the favorites. Let's go ahead now and tap on favorites and you'll see that there will be nothing showing here.
Not checked. Daily Babel favorites. Daily Babel. Alert, no favorites at this time.
No favorites at this time. So I'm going to go back. I am now back to the main UI, and to add something to the favorites, what you want to do is first open that category. So for instance, let's say I want to add
Word of the day, crabber, one who catches crabs, 2 of 16, in list 16 items.
If I want to add word of the day to my favorites, what I need to do is tap here.
Go back, button, out of list.
I tap on word of the day, and now I am on a screen that has the word of the day.
Crabber.
All right.
One who catches crabs.
Now, if I want to add it to my favorites, all I need to do is go down to the bottom and find a checkbox that says favorites, checkbox not checked. Let's take a look at that bottom part, shall we? On the left, we've got
Favorite Babel, switch not checked.
To the right of that.
Open sharing button.
And one more to the right.
Open image editor button. Search Babel on web button.
And search Babel on web. Now, if I want to add the word of the day to my favorites, that's what we want to do. What I need to do now is to tap that checkbox on the left that talks about favorites.
Favorite Babel, switch not checked.
Tap here.
On.
Now that I have checked it.
Favorite Babel, switch checked.
Let's go back.
Daily Babel.
If I go back to the view menu found on the top left corner.
View menu button. Menu.
And then I go down and tap on favorites. Watch.
Favorites. Not checked. Daily Babel favorites. Daily Babel.
Now here I am in the favorites.
Word of the day, crabber, one who catches crabs. 1 of 2 in list 2 items. Alert, no more favorites to load, 2 of 2.
And no more favorites to load. And that's my favorites right there. Now, if I want to take this out of my favorites, if I want to take out that word of the day out of my favorites, what I need to do though is do this. Now I go back to the main menu. We cannot undo the favorites from here. In other words, we cannot undo the favorites from where I went and took us to the favorites. We went back to the main UI where we have the categories. And now I want to go uncheck or undo that favorites. I will now tap on word of the day from the main category UI.
Word of the day, crabber, one who catches crabs. 2 of 16, in list, 16 items.
Tap here.
Go back button. One who catches crabber.
And now at the bottom, I'm going to find that checkbox that is checked for the favorites, and I will tap that to uncheck it.
Favorite babble, switch, checked.
Tap.
Off.
And I have taken it off my favorites.
Daily.
Now, if I go back to the view menu and go down and tap on favorites, I would be told that I don't have any favorites. Let's go ahead now, tap on that view menu found on the top left corner and go tap on favorites.
View menu, but menu.
Now I'll go down and tap on favorites.
Favorites. Not checked. Daily Babble favorites. Daily Babble.
And here's what I'll be told.
Alert, no favorites at this time.
No favorites at this time. And that's because I have taken it off. The last thing we want to take a look at is that more options that was found on the top right corner. Let's go ahead now and take a look at that and see what that does.
View more options button.
And that will be the view more options.
View more options. Pop-up window. Settings in list.
When I tap on that, we have settings.
Suggestions.
Suggestions. And those are the two items. Let's go now to the settings.
Settings.
Tap here. And here are the items that we find in the settings.
Enable text to speech. Switch on. Enable text to speech.
And that's the part that should have been able to read that for me. And that's I've enabled the text to speech. Next.
Enable notifications. Switch off. Enable notifications. Backup/restore. Change log. Settings.
And that will be your daily babble. BABEL. And now we move to our next segment. And this indeed is my most favorite segment. And that is the Android Journey Story. And today we have our friend with us, Doc Cameron. Doc, welcome again. And we are ready to hear your Android Journey Story.
Awesome. Thank you. So much like almost every VI in this lovely continent, I was initially introduced into iOS as being the most accessible, in quotations, device up there. Well, I got tired of that in about 2013, 2014, and switched over to the Samsung, I think that was the Galaxy S5 when it first released, running the awesome version of KitKat, which still to this day makes me hungry. But basically from that point forward, I've been obsessed with Android because it's completely adjustable to whatever I want. And I've found it to be more accessible in most areas than Apple's ecosystem. So like whether you're using different applications or just simply want to connect with, say, a smartwatch, you don't have to now rely on the iPhone. Unfortunately, in Canada, it's more recognized that the iPhone is the accessible route. And, well, I skew that because I've gone from the S5 up to the Note 5 with Samsung. And I've even tested out the BlackBerry Priv when it first came out, which was running either Android 5 or 6 with the 6-inch screen as slide-out keyboard, which to this day I still wish I could have, because it was amazing to type on. After that, I ended up, due to necessity, fell back into the Apple ecosystem, where I still was not happy. So I routed back into Samsung and grabbed the Note 9 when it came out. Loved that phone, but there was issues with the camera, which would cause the stupid thing to vibrate and nobody would warranty it. Now I'm running on a Pixel and living in the pure Google ecosystem, and I definitely prefer it. It's more what I would need in a phone. Even though having the SD card ability would be nice, I don't find it a necessity anymore. Basically, I've hit that point where I despise the Apple ecosystem and will promote Android as far as I can, whether it's to people who are newly visually impaired or through the website that I'm working on as a resource guide. Android is probably just the better system to go with, because it's not only accessible, but it's affordable. And for many people in the vision loss world in North America, especially, affordability is a huge consideration when going to a phone, because not everybody can afford the $600 up front for an iPhone. So I look at it, for me, going, Android's both everything I need. I can customize it to absolutely no end, but it's also accessible and it's insanely affordable. So moving through the world of Android has been a bit of an interesting one, because we also don't have some of the same apps that I was used to on iOS. It took apps like KNFB Reader a while to merge into the Android ecosystem. We really didn't have amazing GPS apps when I first moved over that were easily locatable. I had to hunt. I had to rely on Google, which at the time was the best thing around for me. But since then, I've found, oddly enough, a fairly simple app, which is Get There, which does GPS pretty much all over the world, running off of the old school platform of MapQuest. So when you look at, say, iOS, the biggest push right now is Blind Square. They brag about having the intent to move to Android. I'm kind of glad they aren't, because there's really no benefit to their particular application, given the fact that Android has so many more GPS applications that are completely accessible out of the box. I've actually encountered a number of situations where the Android application is, in some cases, more accessible than an iOS counterpart. So the longer I go working within the Android ecosystem, the more I find new features, new abilities, and in some cases, new toys to test out and play with, because, it's just a bigger platform. And that was actually part of the reasoning behind me going and getting an Android watch used to test out, and realized, hey, this is amazing. I love it. Let's look at getting a better one in the next few months. That way I can, demo a different version of Android Wear, a newer device, check out newer features. Or in some cases, I've been watching for an Android watch that runs full stock Android. So for me, it's just the platform is better. It's more sophisticated and it's more adaptable. So yeah, that's basically my adventures in the Android world.
Hey, dog, you know what? You should be my assistant. I am the Android evangelist, and I can't, I don't see anyone more passionate about Android than you. Absolutely, there's no reason why you shouldn't be my assistant in trying to convert the unsaved.
Well, I try, because It's I'm even looking at getting like Chromebooks and doing what I can to basically move away from Windows, just because the ecosystem is better.
That's right. That's really interesting. You mentioned some of the things there. You had to go back to the Fruitvale land for a little bit and all of that, and then back again. And then, of course, you mentioned that idea about the SD card not being present on the Google Pixel. And, I happen to be one of those that kind of bemoan the lack of the SD card. And I know a lot of people have kind of thought that I was crazy, cuckoo, for wanting an SD card. But for me, though, one of the things that I like about having an SD card there is that ability to store things that I wouldn't necessarily want to be storing on my internal storage on my phone. So therefore, having that access to an SD card is a great thing. But, well, we get used to it, don't we?
Exactly. Like
Not having it. Yeah.
I kind of just decided, pay for extra storage on Google Drive and basically hot swap. So if it's something like documents, well, that can stay in my Google Drive. There's no need for it to be on my hard storage.
Thank you so much, Doc. As I always say, this is my most favorite part of the podcast, and that's the Android journey story. And we truly appreciate you coming out to tell your story, and hopefully it inspires someone else to come on to Android. And now that you are the official assistant of the Android evangelist.
That sounds good to me.
Thank you so much for that wonderful Android journey story, Doc. And we encourage you guys to also send in your recordings, or you could come on live like Doc has. And we always want to hear those stories from you guys. And now we are about to conclude our episode, and we would like to have you guys know how to get a hold of us. And so, Austin, would you give our friends a way of contacting us and all that info that they need?
So to contact us, they can to listen to our podcast episodes and to read guides that we have published. They can visit us on our website, blindandroidusers.com. They can view our YouTube channel. There are lots of videos there, over 200 videos of podcasts, short segments of the shows, some extra contents, and there are more coming. So you can view that. You can subscribe to our mailing list by sending in an email to blind Android users plus subscribe at groups.io. If you have any questions regarding the podcast, or any comments, feedback, or you want to come in live or anything, you can contact us by sending in an email to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. The links to join our Telegram group and follow us on Twitter and join the club, where we are going to have the CSR Q&A in some days announced on the mailing list. We will have that. So to join us there, please read the show notes. And you should read the show notes, because a lot of information is given there in the show notes, lots of links and other things. So that is it from us this week, and I hope our crew members are back next week.
Thank you so much, Austin. And to you listeners out there, we say adios. Goodbye.